Well, hello. This is Dr. Andrea, and welcome to Expect More. Today, we have one of my long, even though she's super young, long term friends, Mary Murray. Mary Murray and I met years ago when she was just a babe, just shy of going into high school. And it is my pleasure to entertain this conversation with her on all things softball, all things Mary related. She's extraordinary in so many ways and advocates for mental health of athletes, as well as has coached softball and played her entire life. So I'm going to let her do a better job of highlighting her accomplishments and how we connected. But Mary, thank you for agreeing to do this. I know you're super busy.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me. I'm Mary Murray, so I'm currently the assistant softball coach at Rowan University. I'm also the pitching coach. I help with recruiting, coordinating, and just a lot of things that go into running. Right now, we're a top 5 program. We're ranked number 3 in the country.
Amazing.
We're 20
Congrats.
now. Thank you. Yeah, we're
Yes,
having a good
it's so
season so far.
exciting. Yes, I saw.
Yeah. We actually just broke the program win streak record last night.
Oh
So
my gosh.
yeah,
Congrats. I did not know that. Good for you.
thank you. Thanks. We have a good group of kids, so it's a fun job. And then, yeah, like Andrea said, I've played softball my entire life. I've been a pitcher since I was probably 8, 9 years old. I also played corner infield, basically anywhere the coach put me, I would play. And then I played in college. I also studied abroad in college, which led to me being able to play internationally. So I played for Great Britain. I played for the national team program as well as the club team over there. And with the club team in 2023, I won a European gold medal at the European Women's or the Women's European Cup in Croatia. So that was the first time a British team had won gold and qualified for the Premier Cup. So hopefully excited to get back on the field with them. But yeah.
I am just grinning ear to ear as you talk about that because the journey, like I know the journey, but to hear it played back in real time as like your past is like just so it's just I just not in any condescending way, just so proud to know you, proud to know you as a person. You're an amazing role model and proud to call you my friend above everything else. So thanks, buddy, for being you. Yeah, back at you. Love Fest. So let's get into we want to talk about like I really want to talk about arm care, pitcher's care, mechanics, but let's kind of lead into like what was your journey as far as like your experience in because you were banged up a little bit when we had met at one point, just a little bit. And it was definitely one of the most affirmations that I had in my career of making a difference, to be honest with you. You were definitely one of the first in like my mid career that I had met that was so appreciative of the time that we spent together that it really kind of dialed in my fire and drive to continue on this journey of trying to help more people.
I mean, I'll be straight up. I look back at my college career and my high school career, and I wouldn't have been able to play in college if it weren't for you and the things that you helped me do and the injuries you helped me come back from. So thank you, first of all. But yeah, I definitely was riddled with some injuries here and there. Arm injuries, hip injuries, ankle injuries, the whole 9 yards. I think arm care wise, um, a lot of what I experienced, I feel like I now take into what I do with our pitchers.
Hmm.
Um,
So what
and
were some
I,
of those things that like you ran into when you were young? Because really, like, I mean, from my recollection, like it was definitely a fight early on, mostly because of the age and not that you were immature by any means, but the maturity level within the sport and your body and like what you wanted to accomplish. Like, what were some of the things that you had to deal with arm care wise that you now look back and are like, oh,
I think I threw a lot, and I didn't have a purpose to why I was throwing. So I think I just was like, I'm gonna throw, I'm gonna pitch, I'm gonna throw for an hour. Didn't have pitch counts, didn't know how many of each pitch I was throwing, didn't do arm care within that. I would just show up to a lesson and be like, okay, my arm's warm, and then I'd go. So that probably wasn't the best thing. Um, and then, I mean, I had UCL issues. I had some stuff like that. I had shoulder issues, tendonitis. I mean, I was throwing, like we had kind of talked about, I was playing high school ball, and then travel softball and club softball was from the months of June to February. And then high school was March to May. So it was you never had time off. You had 2 or 3 weeks off at the end of August, which is crazy. Um,
Now, did anybody talk to you in that time off about like how to like chill out and that you should shut down and like take care of yourself or not really?
you,
oh,
you were pretty much it.
oh man, I queued myself up for that one. Sweet. Yeah. No, but outside of that, like not really, right? That's
Um,
my understanding in general, but
yeah, and I think my college coach going into college had that
mhm.
conversation. And like we have that conversation with our athletes too.
Mhm.
About, you play 5 games a day in club softball. You play 3, 4 times a week now, like
Yeah.
Thursday to Saturday or Thursday to Sunday tournaments.
Yeah, it's nuts.
Um, and then you're practicing and you're traveling and it's a lot on your body. So we tell our kids to try and when they're coming into college, um, not play every single weekend of the summer, maybe pick like 5 or 6 tournaments, play, but really focus on arm care, your mechanics and stuff like that. And I think looking back, I played for a good club program, and that's
Mhm.
something that I had on my side was we had a lot of coaches who they weren't just okay, throw and warm up. It was no, you're doing the proper throwing mechanics. We're making sure that you're
Right.
doing things safely. So all the injuries that I had for the most part were overuse just
Mhm.
because of the volume of play that I was doing. I never really had anything that was because of a mechanical issue, which I was lucky to have.
Yeah, no, totally. And so let me ask you this too. Like, do you think? And I already know the answer to this, but for those of you that don't know, do you think that my background, like my personal background, like playing, coaching, and being experienced in recruiting because recruited Division 1 for 5 years or whatever. Like, do you think that helped in our ability to communicate with each other with the challenges that you were facing as far as like managing playing time and throwing?
Yeah, 100%. I think I, as a 16, 17-year-old kid going through the recruiting process, was like, I need to throw all the time. If I'm not throwing all the time, I'm not going to get recruited. And you knew the other side of that journey and that process, and you kind of helped me understand, no, if you throw too much, you're not going to get recruited because you're going to get hurt. So I feel like through our conversations, I was able to kind of have that maturity of, um, okay, let's be more purposeful about how I throw instead of just volume.
Oh, I love that. Like be more purposeful instead of volume. It seems like so my interactions, I'm still around the sport a lot. My daughter plays, like we're now entering high school, like you were talking about, high school play on top of club play. And I feel very fortunate because the club we're with currently, when high school starts, club stops. So I mean, high school schedule is brutal for kids, especially freshman year coming in 6 days a week after school. The only day they have typically is Sunday. And what I'm hearing a lot just from, me, I sit in the outfield by myself, but what I hear a lot from other parents, and especially alarming, is that there's some club teams that are still expecting their high school kids to show up, on top of their 6 day a week practice schedule and play in tournaments on Saturday and Sunday. Like, do you have like an opinion on that, or like is that what you experienced growing up, and do you see a shift in that at all?
I think that's really hard. I think, like we had kind of talked about before, there is that age gap between that group. So you have some middle schoolers and some high schoolers. So
The
there's,
14 U's, right? That's what you're
yeah,
talking about. Okay. Hmm.
yeah. But I never had to go to travel stuff when I was in high school ball. I was, the months of March to May were high school softball, and then June until early August were travel ball. We had a couple weeks off in August. Then September through November, we played fall tournaments, and then December, January, February were winter workouts. And I think the other thing too was I think the landscape is kind of shifting where um, different teams do things different ways. Sometimes you practice once a week, sometimes you practice however however much per week, and it's different per team. Where um, I know I had some good guidance through if there ever was overlap. um, a lot of my pitching coaches, my travel ball coaches were talking to me and saying, how are you feeling? Are you fatigued? Are you tired? Okay, we aren't going to throw full as much today, or you're just going to do this. So they kind of tweaked my workouts so that if I was fatigued or was tired, I could still do something productive, but it wasn't as hard on my body.
That's
Um,
awesome. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, no, because the education, I mean, my experience over the years, I mean, I played since I was 8, so 40 something, so we'll say like over 35 years in the sport. And what I see in the younger levels is if you're good, you're getting hammered. And if you're a good pitcher, forget it. Like, they are after you. It's almost like you're getting recruited before you're even getting recruited, right? So like they're after you and like 10 you. Oh my god, you can pitch strikes, you're mine. And then they just throw them all the time. And then we see on the other side that repetitive stress injury because your body's not even fully developed at that time. So like education, like are there places that coaches or anybody like parents that are watching this, is there anything that advisory to like kind of look up or like communicate with that you've experienced or whatever over the course that you could advise on maybe good places to get education on as opposed to just Googling?
I know that I just went to the NFCA convention this past year, the softball coaches convention,
Yes.
and this seems to be a topic that coaches want brought up more and more. And it's not just travel coaches; it's college coaches, high school
Yeah.
coaches across all levels. So I sat in a seminar where a couple sports scientists and Olympians actually sat and talked about the volume of throwing that kids are doing, and how it's impacting injury kind of numbers and stuff like that. So I think it is an area that they're really pushing to get similar support to like what MLB does.
Yeah.
Um, I wish I had a resource that I could say, here you go,
Yeah.
but I
No,
think it's
we're
on
going
the
to be
horizon.
developing it though, right?
Hmm.
That's like in our future plans to like get your brain, pull these things out of your brain. So I'm huge on mechanics. I mean, you know that, like fundamentals of mechanics, but what the questions I get a lot are, I need my kid to throw harder. And I feel like it's getting younger and younger that, like, she's not throwing as hard. And I'm dealing with this right now. Like my kids, she's strong and she's like, I'm not throwing as hard. I'm like, but are you accurate? And does your arm feel okay after you're throwing? Like, is there credence to that? Like from where you sit, like talking about players or in your recruiting process, like what you're like kind of look for with that? Is it always speed, or are you particularly looking at mechanics on top of it?
I'll say from personal experience in my
Hmm.
recruiting process, I didn't get my like speed burst until I was probably 17. I was throwing like 54, 55 until I really bought into taking care of my body and lifting and getting stronger. Magic how that works. And then I hit up to
No
like
idea.
I hit up to like 57, 58 when I got recruited. And then once I hit a college weight room program, I hit up to 63. So it was within 2 years, but I had the right tools in place to be able to do that safely. I would say the thing that I say to a lot of pitchers is you need to have two of the three kind of things that you need to be successful. You need to either have speed, movement, or command. So you can have two out of three of those things and be really, really good. Um, and a lot of the times we'll ask kids, are you on a weight program? Are you lifting? And if they're not, then we know when they come into college, they're going to have a good 3, 4, 5 miles an hour that they may gain if we optimize their mechanics and if we really push in the weight room and do the right things. So if they have command and movement, and then we can build speed safely in the weight room and with mechanics in the bullpen, then that's a really good kind of combination to have. But yeah, I would say two or three of those things. If you have those, it doesn't all have to be about speed. If you can throw 65, but you can't hit the strike zone, we're not really in a good spot.
Who cares, right? I mean, you're going to get the less intelligent batters out by muscling it past them, but the intelligent ones are just going to let you throw, right?
Mm-hmm.
Again and again. So you said one of my favorite phrases, and I love when I hear it in someone else, optimizing mechanics. So talk to me about what optimizing mechanics means from a pitching coach's point of view. Former pitcher, current, NCAA pitcher. What does that mean to you, optimizing mechanics?
Um, I think just kind of looking at, obviously if we recruit you, there's something that we like about you and that we think is going to be successful. I think there's some things that you can change, and I've been trying to do more research and kind of just like looking into this type of stuff of what's natural for a pitcher and what can we change versus what's not natural. So my
Mm-hmm.
body will do something different than somebody else's body will do, and some things
Yes.
may be more natural for me.
Yes.
Um, but what may be prone to injury, what do we need to change, and what is kind of hindering something else in your motion. So I try and in the fall really look at mechanics, look at kind of spin stuff and where we're at, and build off of that. If there's certain things that we can sharpen up and make a little bit more efficient in the motion,
Hmm.
whether it's their launch, whether it's their arm path, whether it's their release, stuff like that. I try and use a lot of different tools to make those things more efficient. I'm a big like feel person, so I like to give them
Yep.
tools so that they can feel that.
Okay.
And I'm a big like, what are you feeling? So my hope is that if they come to us and they don't really have body awareness by their senior year, they're going to be able to tell me before I even ask, oh yeah, my hand was here, my hip was in the way, all of that stuff. So I try and make it so that like they can be their own pitching coach and I don't have to really be there if they don't need me. Um, but yeah, I would say kind of looking at what their natural mechanics are and just sharpening those up and making them a little bit better. Not changing them as a whole, but yeah.
So another good key phrase for me that like when I talk to my players about is or the athletes that I treat and care for is body awareness, right? How many incoming freshmen to college that you've seen over the past few years specifically would you say have really good self-awareness around their body movements and styles?
Um, I would say it's kind of an extreme. I would say probably like we've had one or two. I think they know what they should be doing, but they don't know what their body is doing.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I feel like it's really interesting to me going from a freshman in high school and working with them. And then, you see that progression right from eighth grade to freshman year is a huge transition. We always call it like in the PT field anyway, or I do, baby deer legs, right? So because they usually have that growth spurt and then they're like, oh, I'm tall now. I can still
Hmm.
operate like when I was, 3 inches shorter. And you're like, no, your body hasn't caught up yet. And I feel like the same thing happens from senior in high school when you're used to being dominant. Clearly, if you're being recruited for college, you're good at your task. But the fascinating thing is, then when they make the leap into college, they're like knocked down a few pegs. So they're like, some of them, not all of them, right? So you definitely have the studs that come up and through, and you're like, they're the ones you want, right? The ones that like have been matured early and come in and stuff. But when they get into college, it's a whole new world for most of them, correct?
Yeah, and I think the thing that changes, when you were just saying you go middle school to high school, the game changes a little bit. It's still the
Mm-hmm.
same game, but it's a different level. And then senior year of high school into freshman year of college, like we have conversations all the time of, okay, you may have gotten away with slipping pitches here, but you're not going to get away with slipping those pitches in college. And I think a lot of it is you have to make really small adjustments where in high school you probably made the adjustments were easier to make because they weren't as fine tuned and yeah,
Yes. Okay,
yeah.
gotcha. Yeah, so more like drilling down way more at like a
Hmm.
much deeper level to, if my finish is here and it needs to be here type things that's hard to do after X number of years
Hmm.
working. And that's probably the separation you're looking for, I would imagine, in seniors is like, do they
Yeah,
take direction? How do they respond?
yeah.
Right. So when you're out looking at teams, because Lord knows, I'm sure you love recruiting season, and you're out on the. I remember when we did it, and our mutual friend Jamie and I would go out, who was your pitching coach for a long time, would go out and recruit. The assumption was you just hang out and watch games. You sit in the sun, hang out, watch games, and then maybe you pick something up. Can you just speak a little bit to the planning that goes behind the scenes that nobody really understands, and they think that college coaching is so simple? And I I enjoyed my time, but it was a young person's game. That
Hmm.
was too much travel for me, and a whole lot of decision making in small increments. So if you could just speak to kind of what your process is a little bit without giving away your secret sauce, please, because you guys are doing extremely well. So
I mean, we're lucky that we there's a lot of talent in our area, so we don't have to, a lot of Division 1 coaches will end up flying to California, flying to Colorado. We don't have to do that, so we're lucky in that sense. But I would say in the summer, which is prime recruiting season, I get probably 200 to 500 emails a week from kids. I need to,
A
go through
week?
all of those.
A
Yeah,
week.
with their schedules, I would say yes.
Oh, wow.
Um, yeah, so I need to go through
I
those
thought my
emails.
inbox was full. Darn. All right, you go. Go ahead.
So, got to go through the inbox, clean those out, kind of look at who's where. And we're lucky as a program. My head coach is full time and I'm full time as well. So we both can get out on the recruiting trail. So then we'll usually kind of split up complexes or tournaments or whatever it may be. And then I literally go through and any kids that we want to look at. Usually I'll look at film first before we go see them in person. And then I'll pretty much make an entire like Google Sheet schedule of what field they play on, what time, what their jersey number is, who they play, all of that stuff. And then I go through, I put everybody on there, and then I go through and go, okay, who's at the same complex, who's on the same field, who plays back to back, how long does it take me to get to this complex? Can I actually see this game, or am I going to be driving for half of the game? I think that's the tough part. And the other thing too is, we may have our own camps, we may have our own stuff where we can't make it out on a Friday or a Saturday or whatever it is.
Right.
Especially in the fall, that can be the case because we have our fall season with our team and we'll practice on Saturdays.
Right.
So the only day we can get out is Sundays. So yeah, recruiting's
Yeah.
organization is key, I think.
Organization, and there is a science too, right? And it depends on what you're looking for, what you lost, what your goals are. Those are the conversations that I've had anyway with parents because everybody's freaking out all the time, right? You hit here's the other big, like, I want to like myth bust a little bit, maybe. You ready? So we'll go some top myth busters and tell me where your position is. You can get recruited as young as 6th and 7th grade.
No.
It's a hard no, right?
No. I mean, first off, Division One actually can't contact you besides camps until September 1st of your junior year. Us, like, we're pretty much the same timeline, I'd say.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking to seniors and juniors right now.
Okay.
So we're getting sophomores on our radar. And, if you're a freshman or a sophomore and you go to camp, that's great. But kind of younger than that, there's a lot of development that can still happen in your performance that we want to see before we talk to you. And also, you're a kid. Enjoy being a kid. You don't have to worry about the recruiting process for 8 years of your life. It shouldn't be that. You should be able to enjoy the game.
Thank you for that. Yes, let's reinforce that. Enjoy the game. Enjoy the game. Enjoy the game. 8U. Please enjoy the game.
Have fun.
Like, have a good time. Establish the love for the game that you and I both have. I mean, I've been sitting at softball games since I was 7 years old. So it's like 40 years of hanging out on the diamond, and you still hear the things that go round and round, which is why I end up in the outfield because I'm like, oh no, that's not true, that's not how this works. But I don't care to get into a debate with people. I'll leave that to the people that care more about being right, I guess. So all right, so that's one myth. Myth number 2: you have to play on a gold level team all 4 years, or you will not be considered in college.
No, I didn't. I was on, I probably went on to a gold level team in my sophomore year of high school. I think if you're a good athlete and we say to everybody all the time, if you have a school that you're really interested in, go to their camp. That is the best way to get on campus, one. Two, you can talk to the coaches there and you can see how they instruct, how they coach. Would that be something that, a dynamic that you're interested in? You can go to exposure camps where there are tons of coaches there just to get seen. You obviously, the gold level teams and the kind of those like national teams and stuff will play at those bigger tournaments on those bigger fields and stuff like that. But you could go to a game and I could go to a game and recruit, and if you're a shortstop, you could have a game where you don't get a ball hit to you, and you could get walked 3 times in one game. Where if you go to camps, we're able to control that environment a little bit more and give you more reps so that we can see more. I think, and that's another part of, when we go out and recruit, what are you doing on your warm-up reps? I think a lot of coaches talk about this all the time. Are you going full out? If you're a catcher, are you throwing down full speed, or are you kind of just like, just throwing it down just to do it? Yeah, because that may be the only throwdown you get, and that may be the only time that we can get your pop time. So I think it's not necessarily about the team that you play on. Obviously, if you play on a good team and you play good competition, that's a really good thing. But if you want to get recruited, I think camps are definitely the way to go.
Now, can like the intangibles, right? Like, what do you look for on the sideline? You're sitting on the sideline. You make a mistake. Player makes a mistake in the field. Like, do you care about the mistake or do you care about other things?
I mean, physical mistakes are going to happen. They happen at our level. They're going to happen all the time. You're human.
Hmm.
I think the biggest thing is how do you respond and what do you do around your team? Do you internalize it and does it become an issue down the line? Do you make another mistake afterwards? Or do you kind of own up to it and say, hey, that's my bad. I got you on the next one and still stay up for your team and respond in that way?
Yeah, I'll tell you. I was a game on Monday, and I commented to another parent. So there was fly ball. It was left center, left center. I was at the left field fence. Center fielder, man, was charging like nobody's business. Called off the left fielder, dove for it, tipped her glove, and rolled. And the left fielder, backed her up, got it, and threw it in. There was no damage on the play or whatever. But when she got up, left fielder was like, "Oh, sorry," and the center fielder who tipped the ball was like, "My bad. I called it. I got it. That's on me. You're good." And she ran back to center field, and I was like, "Oh, I love you." I'm like, she's my first favorite player of the season right now to watch. Like, it was just like an awesome display of leadership, and so I went and looked at the roster because you recruit, you forget, like you have these little inherent things that don't go away. I was like, "Oh, she's like a senior." I'm like, "Good for her." So it was like very cool to see, and I assume that's kind of stuff you're looking for
Yeah, for
while
sure.
you're out there. Yeah, no, it's good. So let's talk arm care. So I want to talk about women's sports a little bit, but I really want to talk about like arm care and like how your journey has put you in a unique position. I think like the history of your journey, injury, your resilience, because you're one of the most resilient people. Like I will never have anything bad to say. Your work ethic, second to none with some of the injuries that you overcame and still pitched and played overseas in the middle of recoveries. It was amazing to watch, and I'm so grateful to have been a part of your journey, to now see you as a full grown, like, badass woman on like the softball field doing what you love and passing it on to the next generation. So those pieces, how do you build that into, like, what have you learned that you're now bringing to the coaching of these young individuals? Because your program has really, like, it's always been a solid program, but you guys have really been taken off in the last few years with solid contentions in the you know end of season play, playoffs and whatnot. So just talk to me a little bit about how you're taking care of your pitchers and how seriously you take that.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're in a position to compete for a national championship,
I love it. I
and
know.
we've been in a we've been in that space the last 2 years. We've been to the World Series. We finished fifth in 2023 and third last year.
Awesome.
So we made the national semifinal and we lost to the eventual national champions. I
Not a
think if
bad
we're gonna
resume. It's all
no,
right.
I mean,
Yeah, no big
very
deal.
good team. So
Yes.
I think if we're going to be in a position to do that and we want to be in a position to do that, it starts with the fall. It starts with when they come on campus. What is the plan for the fall? Like I was saying, I take the fall more for it's almost like lessons. I do individual or two at a time bullpens with them,
Okay.
and we go over mechanics. We'll do, one day is maybe a little bit more focus on leg drive and launch position and making sure we're in a good position and really utilizing our legs in our drive. Or maybe one day is more arm path focus
Hmm.
on, okay, am I optimizing my arm? Am I in the right pathway? Maybe one is release. Maybe one, am I tight or am I loose? I do a lot of spin stuff with them too. I really like to isolate spin to make sure that we're in the correct position to spin the ball. Um,
So with the spin pitches, with a lot of like lay people, and this is why I always say for softball, if you're especially if you're a pitcher, listen, overhand is overhand a lot of ways, like baseball, softball, but pitching in softball, the biggest difference is those spin pitches and your elbow positioning in relation to your forearm, in relation to your wrist, and what the stress is on your shoulder. So is that something you go over with as well?
yeah, I do a lot of sequencing with them.
Okay.
If there are certain ones, who are heavier with, a screwball, which can be more stress on the elbow, then okay, if we throw that a lot in game, we're not really going to throw it a lot in bullpens. We're going to try and limit the pitches that cause more stress. And I think, like you said, there is that kind of misconception. Oh, it's a natural movement. There's a lot of
Not so
spin pitches
natural.
that are not natural.
No.
And, I threw a 19 inning game in college, and one of my pitchers last year threw a 20 inning game. And I can tell you, we did not feel like it was a natural movement the next day.
No, it's definitely not, because the compensatory things, like if you're going for speed, which the youngers, that's what I see all the time. They over push instead of drive, and then they end up with this, anterior shoulder pain, this front shoulder pain that you really can't do much about when you go into that windmill motion. Like, you're creating an impingement type situation if the other muscles in the back of your shoulder are not recruiting appropriately. So anybody listening to this, like injury prevention wise, shoulder blade squeezes and posture in pitching, literally from 8U all the way up to high level college, and even like some on the semi-professional and professional level, that's something that we drive home all the time, and it can prevent you from having that anterior shoulder stuff that comes with those spin pitches for sure, because
Yeah.
that spin stuff's insane. I don't know how you guys do it.
I don't know either some days, but I would say, yeah, like the fall we do more breakdown of stuff.
Okay.
And then the past couple years, I've really made it a point to, when winter comes and when preseason comes, we need to build a program that, I'm assuming, and I know this isn't the case, I'm hoping they've thrown over break, but I'm assuming, okay, they haven't thrown the ball over break in the last 2 months. How can I build them up to be able to build the load that we need to be able to play 50, 60 games in a season?
Double headers.
Mm-hmm. And if you're going deep into playoffs, you're playing 55, 60 games.
It's insane.
So how can I build that load up in preseason, but also manage it so that they don't get hurt? So I've had a lot of conversations with our athletic trainers, with other coaches who may have a little bit more, resources, like Power 5 coaches at the Division I level, about building that program. And so right now I basically make a pitching calendar for them and say, okay, this is their winter preseason. We're going 2 light bullpens. That's throwing less than 50 full out pitches. Then moderate bullpens are throwing less than 75 full out pitches. Then heavy bullpens are throwing 90 or more, or 75 or more, full out pitches. And so we try and control that and like almost taper it. So we try and gradually go up. So maybe they go 2 light and 1 moderate the first week, and then they go 1 moderate and 2, or 1 light and 2 moderate the next week. Like, you get what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, I love it.
And especially for us, we play the way that we do our schedule. We play 12 games in 10 days in Florida. So they need to be prepared for that load, but they also need to be prepared for, okay, it's June. We've played 50 games. You've thrown 150 innings. Where are we at? Can you still get through the rest of the season? And I don't think it's just, from January to June. I think it's also from inning 1 to inning 7, from a doubleheader, or you pitched on Tuesday. Are you good to go on Saturday? Can you recover? So we push hard in preseason, and we'll do a lot of conditioning. I try and do it non-impact because of my own experiences. Nice little hip surgery in there.
Yeah.
So we try and do a lot of stuff on like the bike. And whether it be like a 30-second speed pitching kind of conditioning thing at the end of a bullpen, or whether it's, simulating fatigue in a game on the bike and doing like an inning and then going on the bike and doing another inning.
Yes.
Because I think that's the other thing too. When you start to fatigue, what I try to get them to understand, what mechanic starts to go first and what's going to happen and how can you fix it. So we try to get them to realize that early on so that they know, okay, if I'm in the 6th inning and I'm starting to get a little exhausted and my legs go first and that's putting more stress on my arm, what do I need to do to get through that, and what do I
So
need to do to keep myself safe?
yeah, so the intelligence, right? So then it's like if I'm tired and I know the screwball is going to hurt when I'm tired or it's going to put me in a worse position, maybe I stay away from the screwball and I go, throwing inside where I know I can keep like clean fastball mechanics but hit the corners as opposed to. And they're not teaching this younger, right? You're teaching this in college really for the most part,
Hmm.
right? Like it's rare for you to like have like a fully polished thing coming in as a freshman, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Which is why I find I'm going to say it, the insanity around youth softball and pitching of like you have to do this, you have to do this, you have to do this. There's a as long as there's a purpose for what you're doing, I feel like, or there's like a shared goal of why we're doing what we're doing. Like you're going into these sessions with these kids, these adult athletes with a goal. Hey, listen, this is a power session. We're hoping to see blah blah blah. This is a let's see what your mechanics look like on an endurance session. Let me gas you out, then go throw. And ooh, I see where the breakdown is. Let's address that. So I mean that's like big time stuff. That's not stuff that I've seen even in like my careers. That's mostly what I used to handle on my end because the resources usually in college is like the same as coaches, right? You're recruiting, you're doing administrative work, all the things. But commend you immensely with that because I guarantee you that's what's contributing to a good part of the success you're having in the circle is the way you're taking care of your kids. It's awesome.
And
Makes
I
me
think that
so
also
happy.
starts thanks. Trying. I think a lot of my coaching philosophy is like what I have wanted as an athlete. And I was really fortunate. I had a phenomenal college coach and staff around me who really took care of me. And, as I battled through those injuries, they had honest conversations and I had a great athletic training staff who took care of me too. But I think it all starts with those relationships and that open line of communication. Like I ask our kids every day, what's your number? And so that means, and it's the same scale our athletic trainers use. So 1 is I feel great. I could run a marathon today. 10 is I don't want to get out of bed. I'm hurting. Like, no. So they need to be honest with me about their number because then, if I go in and I plan an endurance bullpen, assuming they're like a 1 or a 3, and they say I'm like 4 or 5, kind of sore from lift, then I can change it and tweak it so that we aren't making things more angry. Like that's the
Yeah.
last thing we want to do.
Yeah. I
Um,
love that. I love that the number thing, right? Because that's like, I know that's a mental, physical connection, communication that shorthand for, hey, coach, I'm a 9, dude, today. Like,
yeah.
you're not going to get much out of me, but I'm here type
And it
thing.
also lets you understand athletes more, I think, because like I know as an athlete, I would have never gone up to like a 7. I would have never admitted a 7 or above. I was just
Hmm.
hard headed like that. So if
No.
I got up to like a 6, then for my coach, that was a cue of like, okay, she's like actually really hurting, but she's not going to say it.
Okay.
Because
I
my
like
first
that.
year, I would ask them and I'd say, hey, how are you feeling? And they'd go, good. And that was all
Always.
I got. And
Yeah.
so I was like, how can I change this? Like, I have both my degrees, my undergrad and my master's are in communications, and I can definitely see it impacting my coaching now. So that's one way that I like to kind of get that, make communication more clear instead of just saying good and then going, oh, well, you didn't say you were hurting or you were sore. So if their number changes, usually they're pretty consistent, but if it changes either way, if it's a good change or a more negative kind of more sore change, okay, what did you do differently? What do you think caused that and how can we address it so that it doesn't happen again? Or okay, what did you do recovery wise that was really
Hmm.
good and how can we integrate that into your routine?
Yeah. So, parent coaches, anybody that's listening, number scale, hit it up. It'll tell you way more than you ever thought it would if you're consistent. Can't just employ it for 1 or 2 kids. It's got to be integrated into like the culture of what you're trying to build because you'll get a ton of information. And that leads me to I know we're going a little long, but while I have you, that leads me to let's talk about mental health of a pitcher. Can we talk about mental health of a pitcher? Because it's not just athlete mental health. It's like, and I'm living it, girl, to this day with my pitching daughter. It is a real thing. Not only are you dealing with, the female version of adolescence and growth, but you're also dealing with the stress and the mental preparation of having to have your act together publicly because all eyes are on you. So, can you speak a little bit to your experience with that, and then what you've been doing? Because I know you're a big advocate in the mental health space, as am I, because of what we've experienced individually and what we've seen collectively across the years. So, if you could just speak about your journey a little bit with that.
Yeah. I think now being out of my college career, I can definitely identify that I was a perfectionist and at times a toxic perfectionist.
I
Um,
don't know about toxic, but
I mean, I think it hindered me in my career a lot more than I would have liked it to. I think
okay.
perfectionism can be really useful as a pitcher because you want to hit those spots, you want to get batters out, and there's certain situations where if you miss by this much, then that's the difference between a barrel hitting a ball and a barrel missing a ball.
Right.
Um, so I think I throughout my college career um, was way, way, way too hard on myself. And it is a pressure filled position. It is. Like, we're not
You
going to
were way
lie.
too hard on yourself, but it
Um,
also got you to where you are. So, like, there's the journey. It's just a
yeah,
path. Hmm.
yeah. I think, if I could, with the way that my career ended, if I could go back and say something different to myself, I always say, and I say this to kids I'm recruiting and anybody I talk to and our kids as they get older, don't lose sight of the journey and have fun. Like, I wish
Yeah.
that I had really focused in on, time with my teammates and bus rides rather than sitting there like looking out the window of, oh, if I had only thrown that one pitch here, like you
It's
can't control
hard.
it.
It's
And
hard.
the minute the ball leaves your hand,
Yeah.
it is what it is. And
No,
it's
but
really
it's a,
hard to say that as a pitcher, but it's something that if I had come to terms with earlier, then I feel like I would have been in a much better mental space.
you know what that shows? You're an old head like the rest of us, that you're reflective of that. No, it's true. It's a pressure position though. So I don't know how you like decompress that pressure position. I don't know if you can. Can you?
Um, I think certain people have ways of dealing with it. Like I've
Okay.
had some kids who they miss a pitch, they'll come in and they'll start laughing, and that's their way of kind of coping with it. And I do what's helped me a lot is at the beginning of the year, I give them like a little one-page questionnaire, and I've kind of added and taken out questions over the years. But it's given me kind of an insight into their perspective and like what drives them and kind of where they're at mentally. And so I'll ask them like, who's one pitcher that you look up to and where do you compare yourself on a scale of 1 to 10 with them? And that's been
Mm.
an eye-opening question. Because they'll say a Division 1 Power 5 pitcher, and then they'll be like, oh, 2 or 3. And I go, why do you say 2 or 3? You're not the same pitcher as her, and that's okay. So I think something I really try and focus on with them is I try not to use like negative words. So we try and frame things like I call pitches. And so if I'm calling pitches and I'm trying to like communicate something to them, I won't say, hey, don't lose her. I'll say, hey, win this pitch. Or if it's a really good pitch and it doesn't get called, then I just say like, build on this. So we try and get them to understand if you miss a spot or if you let up a hit or something, it's not a failure. It's okay. We know what to do next time. We have more information. Or you miss a pitch or you don't get it called or whatever it is. Okay, we learned something from that pitch. Did they want that pitch? Did they trigger really aggressively towards it, or did they kind of just let it go and they didn't want anything to do with it? Did it change their eye levels? Stuff like that. So I'm trying to get them to understand every pitch has a purpose, even if it isn't a hit. Um, and then just getting them to understand, you're not going to have your best stuff every day. So I try and put them in positions in preseason. I call one of them like our C day bullpen. So you're not going to be an A every day. Maybe, hopefully you're a B. You can be consistently a B. But if you're down to a C and maybe your best pitch isn't working, how do we get through it? So I try and put them in positions of, okay, your best pitch is a curveball. All right, you're not throwing that all day. Go throw live, and make them work through the hard things so that they kind of mentally, we can debrief about it before it ever happens in a game and go, all right, how are we going to get through this?
Oh,
What
I
are we going
love
to do?
that. I love that. And I really wish, again, just generally speaking to the coaching community of the youth coming full circle, is your pitchers are in a tough spot. And most girls just want, most people, but most women, young women, they just want to do well. And they want to be told they're doing well, and they can't do well all the time. And, you're going to miss your spots and you're going to hit your spots, but it shouldn't be the end all be all of everything that they are. And at the end of the day, I guarantee you no pitcher is going out there saying, "Nah, I'm just gonna like, you know, see what happens," type thing. They're genuinely going out and putting their best stuff out there, and they don't always have it. And they need to. There needs to be some kindness, I think, around that a little bit. Not soft. Like I'm old school, so like you ask my daughter, she doesn't like to talk to me after games, and so we have a peace time that we don't really discuss things until she's ready. But there's definitely like days that they just need more love than criticism on the sidelines for sure to help that psychological safety of not being perfect all the time,
Yeah. And I
right?
think it also goes back to, like we said, have fun. If you have a fun environment and you're able to enjoy the game, then it takes some of that pressure of that position off. Like I love cracking up with them in bullpens and joking around with them because they're loose and they're enjoying it. And if they miss a pitch and then they suddenly tighten up, then I'm like, whoa, what changed? You missed a spot. Okay, so what? It
Yeah, let's
happens.
roll. Yeah, let's
Yeah.
roll. Yeah. So as we wrap up here, like if you had any advice as far as injury prevention goes or pitching care for, young pitchers, college pitchers, really anybody within the sport, like what are like maybe the three things you would say are like the most important to determine to best take care of yourself?
I think one thing that we use, all of our kids use them. We do J bands
Okay.
with our kids, and we
Mhm.
love them. I think if you have the opportunity to get in with, we have athletic training and we're really fortunate to have those resources.
Mhm.
Um, but like if you're a young kid and you're kind of having some pain, and obviously I had that and I went to you,
Yes.
but it set me up for the rest of my career. It wasn't just about let's rehab from this injury. It was about why did this injury happen? Do you have, like you use the dorsivy with me, you use Proteus and all of these things with me to make me stronger in other areas so that hopefully I wasn't getting injured again. But especially with the hip injury, like that, I had hip surgery and came back from it
Yeah.
in college. And I think if I hadn't had that system in place and hadn't had the support from you and your team in place, it would have been a very different recovery and very different kind of ending to the story than it was. Um, so I think if you can get in, obviously I would recommend you,
I
but
appreciate that.
if you can get in with anybody to talk about, especially for the younger kids,
Yeah.
where are your mechanics at first? Are they safe? And if they aren't safe, is there a physical reason why? And then starting to address that and just getting, I'm not saying like 14-year-olds need to go lift, but like just
Yeah.
getting stronger and
Yeah.
doing arm care things or, hip. I think for females, hips and shoulders are like huge. So
Agreed.
we do a lot of hip mobility and shoulder mobility with our kids. But focusing on those now so that hopefully it doesn't become an issue later would be big.
Yeah, I mean, so to piggyback on top of that, like definitely not like, and thank you so much. And it does mean a lot to me that you think that much of us all these years later still. But I think my big platform around that is outside of us, like make sure anybody that's dealing with your athletes, like general public, parents, anybody that's dealing with the athletes, make sure that the provider that you're talking to, the coach that you're talking to, the trainer that you're talking to truly has one the experience to be giving you advice. What's their background? I'm biased. I always prefer a little bit of medical background or tag teaming with trainers. That I like to tag team with trainers and do the medical advising where they do the power strength advising to make sure it's appropriate. So one, it's the knowledge, but two, really is to make sure they have the best interests of your kid at heart and not their egos in place. And that's something that really irks me to see, a little bit, not, I don't want to say exploitation, that's a very strong word, but when there are successes in on the field and around the field, taking credit as if that's like your product you're putting out. It's more about making sure that your athlete is being supported in the appropriate ways. And if we have something to offer, or the trainer, coach, therapist has something to offer that can best support that it's always in the best interest of the athlete to get them and keep them safe and healthy. So I appreciate your insight on that. You're a beast, man. I love talking to you. We're gonna have to do this again. So,
I'm down. I'm here.
yeah, no, how can people, if they have questions appropriately without, like making 250 emails a week, how can people get in touch with you if they're interested in what you do, your school, or more information around you? What's the best way?
Probably I would say I have a coaching Instagram and a coaching Twitter, so it's at Coach MP Murray. Those are the two handles on both Instagram and Twitter. That's probably the easiest way to get a
Awesome.
hold of me. But yeah.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. Thank you, Mary. And I'll have to say MP at least one time because that's what I've known you for your whole life. Thanks so much for being. And that's it for us for today. Take care of your pitchers, take care of your athletes, and make sure you seek out information if you do not know. Know what you don't know and find out what you can. Have a great day. Thanks, guys.